Well, joining us on the Coach's Corner is Christine Johnston, the head men's and women's tennis coach at Emory and Henry. Christine, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brent.
Okay, so we have to start out with something that has nothing to do with sports. Talk to me about marriage in the time of COVID.
Well, I don't recommend anyone trying to get married during COVID, during a global pandemic, but I will say it will be one we're going to remember. So, yeah, I think we're going to have like 3 different anniversaries.
Well, congratulations on all of those different anniversaries, but you made it, so that's something.
Made it, yep. That's what I
Well,
told my parents. Their anniversary was June 1st, and we had to go to the courthouse to get our marriage license. And I said, Mom, we made it.
well, COVID also impacted your season, and I've been talking to a lot of the spring sport coaches. Just talk to me from your perspective what that was like and just sort of the conversations that you had to have with your team once we realized that the season was in jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a very unfortunate, uncertain time, but really, we were all in it together. It was, something none of us had ever dealt with before or ever gone through. So we just really kind of came together as a team even more. And I felt like we grew as people and our culture strengthened as well. And we just took it one day at a time. And then, of course, when they decided that the seasons were going to be canceled, that was a little heartbreaking and shared some emotions, but same thing, like we stayed in touch. We've grown together, and I've been really proud of the way the team has handled it, from all the way from the freshmen, that we had a huge group of incoming freshmen this year, and then all to our seniors. So everyone's handled it very maturely and just used it as a learning experience.
I think, to be honest with you, full disclosure, all of us are kind of getting zoomed out at this point. All of us are using Zoom. It's really the only way we can communicate with our colleagues, with our teams. You, especially early on, embraced that. What have those communications been like with your team, and what have you guys been able to really take from still being able to at least have some conversation, although not ideal?
Yeah, I think when we first broke, so we were actually getting ready to go onto our big spring break trip, which we were going down to Orlando, Florida. We were going to go to Disney for a day, play some matches. So, of course, they were really bummed about not being able to go on that and be together as a group. But when you have, a 2-week break, I think, you're kind of a little bit excited about that, a nice little break. But then when it became longer than that, we realized how much we do miss not only our teammates, but the sport just in general. So we did try to do a lot of Zoom calls and stuff like that, and then just try to make it a little bit more unique from, their everyday Zooms that they had to do with their academics. So we did theme nights. One night was a fight night, so they dressed up as, different street fighters. Of course, when COVID first hit, Tiger King was a big show that was, and we did, stuff with that. So just like I said, just made it a little bit unique and find ways to keep their personalities alive and show through. But yeah, it's definitely not the same as being together.
Well, let's talk about the team as a whole. You guys were young to a certain degree, and so talk to me just about what the challenges of that, and also the excitement that comes with that, knowing seeing some of the development that you were seeing, and the hopes that you have of some really good success moving forward.
Yeah, so our guys team, I would say, was a pretty typical layout for all 4 years. We did graduate 3 senior guys, so of course that was too bad for them to end their career that way. But on the women's side, we had 7 freshmen this year. So of course I would have loved for them to have gotten more opportunities to compete as a team and see what the college athletics scene is all about. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I think we have a lot of optimism for the years to come, and we didn't have really any juniors on the team for the guys side as well. So we will be returning a lot, men and women. And I think, it's lit kind of a bit of a fire underneath their feet to work hard over the summer and, not take anything for granted anymore.
You've been here for a few years now, CJ, and so you've really seemed to embrace the Emory and Henry lifestyle. So I always like asking folks that come to Emory, what has really kind of grabbed you about this place?
Yeah, so I love the community and family feel at Emory. Like, I love walking across campus and talking to, faculty, all the way to our facilities crews and maintenance crews. And I just feel like everybody is here to support each other, and that's how we our culture on our team is we use it as a big family, and have them over for team dinners and stuff like that, and do stuff with each other off the court. So that's the biggest thing that I've loved, is that all across campus and even in the outside community, if people know Emory and Henry, you're part of their family.
Well, I have to apologize because, of course, on Tuesday we ran the interview with Bill Menino, and you're really close to him office wise. I've got to ask you for your favorite Bill Menino story.
Oh, I don't think there's one I can even choose. Well, I probably would have to think about that.
I mean, I'm always blown away by some of the idiosyncrasies that he has, such as, and I did not get into this on his interview, but his love of soup is one of the weirdest things that I've.
Yes, he definitely does have a love for soup. So Bill is we oftentimes go to the cafeteria, which you've seen, the dining hall. And I am always blown away, number one, how often he can eat soup. But number two is how much he can eat during lunch. I mean, he goes up probably 3 or 4 times, and I mean, they are full plates. He just downs them. One other thing I do love about Bill is when, with recruiting, so often you have to text them or, message them in some form or fashion on social media, text messaging, whatever. And he still text messages with one finger. So I always tell him he can only get out 1 text a day if he's typing like that.
I did want to ask you about recruiting, CJ. How much do you enjoy the recruiting process, and what has that been like for you in the time of COVID?
Yes, so we actually just landed a commitment for 2020 on the men's side, so that's really great. So we've got 2 guys coming in for next year, and then on the women's side, we've got 2 girls that signed before all this hit. But recruiting is definitely a challenge, when things are kind of in the perfect world. I do really enjoy it just from building the relationships, but I have had to learn that, if someone doesn't choose to come to our school or play for you, that you can't take it too personal, that there's, a better fit for them and possibly a better fit for us. But that's definitely something that I've had to kind of learn over the years. But, there's still some that really sting when you don't, land them. But I've just tried to kind of keep my nose to the grind with recruiting and, do everything that I can. And, some things are out of our control that, people are nervous right now if they're going to come back to school and if they're going to be seated, or if, financial reasons. So just doing everything that I can and, go from there.
Well, I'm optimistic that, and I think everyone here at Emory is optimistic that we will be seated this fall. And tennis is one of those sports that can do social distancing pretty well. So hopefully that will be something that can benefit your team and so forth. But speaking of playing, though, one of the things I've always loved about tennis is it's a game that you can play well into your life. It's not something that is just limited to when you're in college and so forth. Do you still get a chance to play with the team, and how does that go when you do?
Yeah, so I hit in quite a bit. We actually do a lot of, we call them individual lessons. So, it might be a couple of the team members come out to a smaller group practice, or it just might be a one-on-one session. So during those, especially, I hit in a lot. And then sometimes if we have an odd number during practice, and we're kind of competing, I'll hop in as well. And just kind of depends on the scenario. I know some of the guys, they want to play me a lot, and just, it's a fine line, because it's never a good situation. I feel like it's always like a lose-lose. If I lose to them, I'm going to be really mad. And then if, they beat me, does that look good? So, no, we keep it fun. And, I think it's always good to show that, a coach is wanting to push them and is willing to put in, the work too. It's kind of like in the weight room. I always like for them to see that, I'm going in, working out, and taking care of myself too. So.
Yeah, I've seen you do a few running drills with the team before, and you're braver than I am. So. One of the things I've always liked about your team, CJ, is just the way they carry themselves, the tightness of the group. Talk about culture and what your thoughts are on culture, and really what you try to direct your team towards.
Yeah, well, I listened to your call with Coach Menino too, and our teams were very similar, and there was a lot of coaching turnover before I got here, and so I was aware of that. And relationships are a big part of my life just in general, and I want the student athletes to have, the best experience that they can. So to me, I just really wanted from the get-go to earn their trust, make sure that they knew that I cared about them as individuals, I care about them as a team, as a program, and as our school. And it's really helped them as a group buy in. And I feel really, really lucky that when I got here, we had a group that, even though they did have quite a few coaches during their time, they were still open to, buying in one more time. And so as those seniors graduated, even with me just having them 1 year, they really set this, the foundation to continuing to build on the culture piece. So like I said, we just do a lot of things off the court, and I try to make them realize that we can learn a lot of life lessons, not only through the game of tennis, but even when we're traveling and stuff like that, because you're always going to face some type of stress or hurdles or something like the COVID, and how do we respond is so important.
I'm wondering, I always am interested what's going through a coach's head during times of competition. And when I always glance over during matches, you seem to be really cool, calm, and collected. What's going on inside your brain when you're watching those crucial matches and crucial points?
Yeah, well, I do have a hard time turning off the competitive button, but I do try to be calm and collected on the sidelines as much as possible, because I feel like if I look like I'm, fired up or nervous, I feel like that's just going to translate to them. And I want them to, I tell them all the time that we have to control the things we can control to the best of our abilities, and the outcome will sort of come as it should. And I am realistic. I don't think we should win every match, and I don't think we should lose every match, but it's how we compete, and are we getting better, and are we putting forth the effort and the things that we can control to the best of our abilities. And as a coach, if we do that, then, I can't be too upset. And we can work on the technicalities and strategies, every day. But that's the main thing that I tell them every huddle before a match is we've got to control the things we can control to the best of our abilities. So yeah, I remember playing when I was in college, that I always felt like my coach looked so nervous and uptight, and it was like, okay. So, you just learn from experiences too. It's not necessarily maybe the right way or the wrong way, but I do try to make them feel a little bit at ease if I can.
Yeah, and then this is kind of a broader question you touched on a little bit, but I'm wondering what you feel like makes Emory Henry tennis so special, because I do think that you guys have something that's really blooming there, and I'm just wondering if you're able to kind of put your finger on what is making the future look so optimistic for tennis.
Yeah, I think that obviously tennis is such an individual sport, but I think what's so neat for a sport like tennis that, I know golf travels men and women together as well, but we kind of treat it as a brother and sisterhood, and kind of goes back to that same whole family type thing. But I think that is what is kind of unique and makes it special, that if you can get two different programs to buy in and kind of make it one big program, I mean, that's just amazing support. And, some of our girls can play in and practice with some of our guys and push each other and stuff like that. So like I said, I think the bigger, and it's almost like the more the merrier. If you can all be on the same page going forward, I just think you can just keep kind of blooming.
Well, CJ, I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. I'm excited to get back to competing, and exciting to see you guys get back on the court. So
Yeah,
thanks for joining us.
absolutely. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.